Welcome back to Turkish series stars, the corner of the internet where the whispered edges of celebrity life find their voice, and the quiet moments that usually slip by become stories worth hearing. If you value thoughtful, compassionate deep dives into the headlines everyone is buzzing about, tap subscribe and consider hitting join to support the channel. Your support keeps these nuanced narratives coming, and today, Istanbul's latest ripple deserves that nuance. It started as a whisper in the arrivals hall and surged into a wave that crashed across timelines and TV programs within hours. A low-key return flight, a careful exit, and a destination chosen for silence rather than spectacle. That's all it took for speculation to ignite about two names that Turkey never seems to stop talking about, Alina and Alp Navras. At the center of this new chapter was a presence that needed no introduction to those who follow their story, Alp's mother, who quietly slipped back into the city and, according to multiple witnesses, arranged a private meeting with Alina. The encounter, people say, unfolded away from the sparkling boulevards and camera-strewn districts, tucked instead into a serene corner of Istanbul where the streets slow down and conversations feel less performative. The café, tasteful but unpretentious, was a place meant for listening rather than posing. Those who caught brief glimpses describe a scene that felt gently choreographed for privacy. Two women facing each other, a table between them that sometimes vanished when one reached for the other's hand. There were smiles that came easily, then pauses where the air seemed to thicken, as if words were being chosen with care. Laughter would surface and steady the room, a counterpoint to stretches of quiet that hinted at topics too delicate for public voices. For longtime followers of Alina and Alp, fans who pieced together their history from red carpets, magazine covers, and the subtle currents of social media, this wasn't a casual courtesy call. It felt like a prologue. A small meeting, yes, but one with the mood of an opening scene to something that could change the ending everyone thought they knew. As soon as passers-by shared fleeting snapshots and brief, shaky clips, the internet did what it always does: gather, analyze, and amplify. In those images, the warmth didn't look staged, there was no tight, polite smile held for a camera. Instead, onlookers described a tone that felt restorative, not performative reconciliation, but something closer to two hearts testing whether trust could hold again. People with insight into the family's dynamics added a dimension that made the meeting seem even more intentional. According to these voices, Alp's mother didn't fly in just to check a box. She came to listen, to Alina's side, without rumor muddying the waters, and to signal, subtly but unmistakably, that the door to a new chapter wasn't locked. Whether this mission had been planned for weeks or was decided in a moment of courage remains open to interpretation, but those present said the seriousness in the room never wavered. It felt like an adult conversation about complicated feelings, the sort that rarely survives the glare of publicity but can transform everything in private. In many families, a parent's participation marks a passage, a move from personal romance to something sturdier, something that asks to be acknowledged. It can also serve as ballast when a couple's trajectory has been tossed by speculation and pressure. For admirers of Alina and Alp, seeing Alp's mother and Alina sharing a table, smiling, listening, leaning in read as a sign that the story might be bending back toward tenderness, guided not by headlines but by care. You, our community, always bring thoughtful perspectives to these turning points. Was this a mother's heartfelt step toward mending what time and scrutiny strained? Or simply two adults extending respect as they navigate feelings that refuse to be rushed or simplified? Share your thoughts below, and if you appreciate the way we approach these stories, careful, curious, and kind, please like, subscribe, and consider tapping join here on Turkish series stars. You keep this space steady in a whirlwind news cycle. Back to the meeting itself, witnesses emphasized a rhythm that moved from lightness to gravity and back again. There were moments when laughter stitched them together, then stretches where both lowered their voices, shoulders angled close, as if the truth needed a softer tone to be spoken. One neighbor, who watched them arrive and leave with discretion that bordered on reverence, later told a local reporter, "It felt like two women placing everything on the table, not to stir drama, but to find what's real." That word, real, became the anchor for much of the commentary that followed. When a parent and a former partner sit down with the intention of clarifying the past, the future starts to feel less like guesswork and more like something that could be decided with care. Within hours, fan communities were decoding every gesture and glancing expression. Was Alp's mother's trip a quiet blessing in search of a moment? Was this the family's way of saying that, if healing is possible, it should be nurtured? Others urged patience, pointing out that one meeting, however meaningful, can't rewrite a story overnight. Still, the symbolism was hard to ignore, a mother crossing borders, not for a staged photo op, but for a conversation that asked for privacy more than applause. In a culture accustomed to declarations shouted from rooftops, the choice to keep this gentle, almost hushed, stood out as its own statement. Columnists, as always, weighed in. Some framed the visit as a strategic move, a graceful pivot from rumor-driven noise to values like unity and sincerity. They suggested this was about showing that what happens off-camera matters more than what trends. Others leaned toward the intimate reading, a mother, mindful of her son's heart, reaching out to the person who once held it closely. Both angles drew readers, and both spoke to that enduring fascination with moments where private love and public life intersect. Observers also noted the choreography of respect. The meeting wasn't staged in the bustling districts where celebrity footsteps turn into alerts. Alp's mother arrived without entourage, without a hint of spectacle, and left just as quietly, the only trace being those few snapshots that onlookers couldn't help but share. No statements were issued, no captions announced intentions. The images had to do the talking, and the silence around them did the rest. People who know the family insisted this was precisely the point: genuine conversation doesn't need a press release. For now, neither Alina Boz nor Alp Navras has made an official comment. Their choice to hold the line, to keep private matters inside the calm of private rooms, has become part of the intrigue. In an age that rewards instant clarifications, their restraint feels almost radical. And yet, that quiet only inflames the questions. Is this the prelude to a public reunion? A sign that a collaborative project might become the bridge back to togetherness? Or is it one careful step in a longer process where reconciliation, if it comes, will arrive softly, on its own terms? Here at Turkish series Stars, we aim to honor the human stakes. Celebrities carry the same tender complexities as anyone else, and sometimes a parent's presence isn't interference, it's care, expressed with humility. If there's a lesson in this discreet return flight and that unassuming Istanbul afternoon, it might be this: the moves that change everything rarely announce themselves with fanfare. They happen in rooms where phones are face down, where sentences are allowed to breathe, and where forgiveness can be sounded out syllable by syllable. As the city settles from this swell of attention, the images remain: a gentle hand reaching over a small table, a smile that appears after a hard sentence, two women standing when it's over, sharing a parting look that holds more than any caption could explain. Maybe we'll never know exactly what was said, maybe that's the point. Not every meaningful moment belongs to the public, even when it involves people the public loves. So we'll wait, not idly, but with curiosity and care, for what comes next. If Alina and Alp choose to speak, we'll listen. If they choose to let actions carry the message, we'll watch with respect. And if this meeting simply becomes a quiet, vital page in a larger story that only they get to read in full, we will still be grateful that kindness had the chance to walk back into the room and sit down. Thank you for spending time with us today. At Turkish series Stars, we don't chase noise for its own sake, we look for the heartbeat beneath the headline. Keep the conversation going in the comments, tell us how this moment struck you, and support the channel by subscribing and using the join button if you're able. Until the next update, stay curious and keep your hearts open to the small, brave gestures that, unexpectedly, change everything.